Okay, so this is a game that came out almost 30 years ago. I believe it was released back in like 1995, 1996, and it appeared in America during the early 2000s. Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Battle 22 is a game that is probably the worst DBZ game that I've ever seen. I'm pretty sure I'm not alone when I say that, but it's a video game where the soundtrack was probably the best thing that you would probably hear on any DBZ game, and unfortunately that was like the only redeeming quality of DBZ Ultimate Battle 22. It was developed by a video game developer known as TOS. I believe that's how you pronounce it, TOS, and it was basically published by Bandai in Japan and Europe, and Infogames in North America, but it doesn't matter who the publisher was. I mean, the game was just horrible overall, despite the game modes and all that stuff. The presentation of this game just looked lousy, and it would instantly turn you off. And honestly, there are a lot of people who would prefer the Bajiden games that came out for the NES, Dragon Ball Z Bajiden 1 through 3, which I believe that started back in like 93, and then it went up to like 95, if I'm not wrong. And the Bajiden games looked a lot cleaner, and the gameplay was pretty much the same, but the presentation of the DBZ Bajiden games was a lot more superior. And I honestly feel like the soundtrack for Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Battle 22 could have worked in like any modern Dragon Ball Z game, whether it be DBZ Xenoverse, Dragon Ball FighterZ, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, which I believe a game that came out like 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. And I do feel that like the soundtrack in this game stands the test of time, but the gameplay is just rotten for the most part. And I think it's strange that the game had a limited roster, because you look at DBZ games now, I mean, the roster's not as limited and there's so much more that you can do. But you know, the PS1 era of gaming was, I don't know, you had video games that were great because the presentation was good and the gameplay was almost as good, but at the same time, when you try to do anything in relation to, I guess, 3D gameplay, or try to make certain video games look better than what they are, a lot of the flaws of certain video games would stand out. And honestly, like, one of the biggest things about the PS1 that was very annoying was long loading times. You know, a lot of people would probably prefer N64 or Dreamcast over the PS1 because the loading times for PS1 games is unbearable. So I can only imagine, you know, what it was like for people who bought Ultimate Battle 22 and then had to sit through the long loading times and, you know, and what have you to get to the gameplay. But yeah, Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Battle 22, how bad was it? It was really bad, but if you want to listen to a phenomenal soundtrack, you could just pick up the disc and you could just I guess listen to the soundtrack for the music, just to be entertained, because that was probably the best thing about this particular game. And even though the game had I believe it had a sequel. It's called Final Bout. It basically has like most of the tracks in Ultimate Battle 22, but, you know, remixed, and they don't sound quite as good, but the gameplay and the presentation of Dragon Ball Z Final Bout looks a lot better, or what have you. So I think Final Bout in general is a better game than Ultimate Battle 22. As a matter of fact, I think Ultimate Battle 22 is one of the worst games, or one of the worst DBZ games of the 90s. Definitely one of the worst fighting games of the 90s. And honestly, I think like even the Budokai games from like the early 2000s was better than this. And But again, luckily this is a game that came out like before the Dragon Ball Z anime became very hot, like during like the late 90s and early 2000s. So it's a game that a lot of people do not know about, and I do feel that we're definitely going to get like some good and some bad DBZ games probably in the future, but I honestly think most of them are going to be good opposed to bad, seeing how far we have come in terms of technology in relation to developing video games and all that stuff.